Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be answering the question time questions from the November edition. So, first things first, we have Raul Bastidas asking, have I seen the new Dune film, and if so, thoughts? I have seen the new Dune film, and I thought it was actually quite wonderful. Probably the best adaptation of book to big screen that I have seen. And maybe that's because I haven't seen that many great movies that have been translated to the big screen. Like, Harry Potter was it was okay, but I wasn't as big a fan of Harry Potter, perhaps, but maybe at the same time, because the target audience for Dune, I feel, is a much more mature audience, and obviously I'm an adult at this point in time, so it resonated quite well. And they took their time to develop the world. The world building in Dune is quite long. In fact, the first Dune book is 800-ish odd pages. It's incredibly long, and the first half of the book, or at least, actually, maybe the first quarter to first third of the book, is pretty much just pure world building. And the movie took its time to set the scene. It was pretty accurate. A lot of the stuff that's happening, I remember, this happened in the book. These are the notable moments. So I thought they did a fantastically good job. And the only perhaps drawback I would say is that it's an incomplete story, the first movie, because it's part one of basically half of the first book. And in all honesty, all the main action and excitement, so to speak, really happens in the second half of the book. The climax of part one movie is not really a climax in the book. I felt it was kind of it's a thing that happens, but it wasn't that monumental overall. So when the second or part two comes out, it's going to be the most exciting thing ever, because like I said, all the excitement happens then. Hopefully they just stop there, because I feel like books 2 to 6 were just not worth reading. In all honesty, it was just too slow and clunky, but maybe with movie magic it'll be a bit more interesting. OK asks, what is my favorite and least favorite thing about life? So favorite thing about life would definitely be Pancake. It just brightens my day overall. It's just the happiest thing that I have. Whenever she comes home, my day is significantly better. And then the worst thing would definitely be my physical health and mental health problems. It's just, they're piling up, and it's getting to the point where it becomes quite difficult to push forward all the time. But Pancake does help balance it out. Utilizing this YouTube stuff does help as well. Local Rabbi says, what is my biggest pet peeve? So pet peeves are definitely things that you just don't enjoy overall. So I feel just rude people I dislike, because it costs you nothing to be polite and courteous, but you make the decision to be rude. And if it's unjustifiable, then I think it's just a problematic aspect overall. Evanor Pinata says, hey, I don't really have any questions, but I do have a fun fact. Their birthday is the same day as the release of the North American server of PAD, November 8th, and it's just something you like to brag about to your friends. Hey, that is pretty cool, and happy preemptive birthday 4 days ahead of schedule. They love watching my videos, and they can't wait for upcoming ones. Okay, so maybe one question. Any recommendations for subs for Seawolf? Think they have a decent team going, but they're not quite sure how to... if this can't make the video, it's all good. No, you have Bride Trailer, which is great. You have Suo, you have SR Amino Uzume, Sena, Seawolf. That looks like quite a solid team, and the only biggest drawback I can feel is Sena doesn't have her buff yet, but you have a good mix of transform, non-transform, so you have the capacity to inherit delays, haste, or whatever mechanics you need to have. And one nice thing about Sena is post-transform, they give you a 2-turn cooldown to inherit over top of. So with Sena and Seawolf, you have 3 cards with a 2-turn cooldown. So in theory, one of them doesn't have to be used and could carry an inherit that might be meaningful. Something possibly short charging, so they could be used as needed. Seawolf has the disadvantage of not making hard orbs, whereas Sena does. So that does give you a bit of flexibility, because if hard orbs don't drop down, you may not be able to heal. And at least Sena's active does provide that. Amino Uzume is a wonderful solution for buying. It's just a great cleric. And with Bride Trailer, it's just the best pairing, because you have that alternative way to clear unmatchable. Suo is perhaps the only awkward-ish card, I feel, in a sense. Maybe if you don't feel like they're performing as well, maybe you could sub them out for something else. But then again, maybe are they your double damage cap card, or Bride Trailer is as well. Again, it all depends purely on what dungeon you're trying to play through and the mechanics you need to counter. Wayward Vector says, have I read Worm? I have not read Worm, actually. It wasn't their cup of tea, but it seems like something I would like. It's an online novel, or the Kevin Jenkins experience. Again, I have not actually read really online novels, mostly because I think I'm a bit old school, or maybe a bit of a dinosaur, because I don't enjoy reading on a screen. I like having the physical book to hold and touch. I just enjoy that tangible aspect, and that's probably why I like board games so much, because I can touch the pieces, and maybe I can just see the light drain from my opponent's eyes as I make a great play. Either way, I have not read those 2 books, unfortunately, but maybe if I can find a way to maybe print them out in a reasonable manner, maybe, or if they're short enough, I could read online. Hurtbox says, Do I ever look at other players' monster boxes to give advice? And if so, how do I get in line for that? If not, it would be worth your time to do so. I do that through my Patreon. Like, it's a way to support me through monetary means, and in turn, I help you out in whatever means you want to do so. So oftentimes it's like box reviews where I like go over your box, we build teams together, or I help you plan for a specific dungeon, or you just can ask, like, just have a brain dump of like all your pad questions, and in turn I can answer them. And it is probably the most helpful for newer players, because after a certain point I possibly teach you enough and then I don't become as valuable for that one-on-one content. But if you are interested in that, you can either look me up on Patreon or just DM me directly via Discord, which in turn we can set up something there. Sarthak Bansal has asked a couple of questions, and the first one is, what do I think about asking Jeff Bezos to buy Gung-Ho and buy North America, the Marvel and Star Wars collabs? That is pretty bizarre and baffling. I don't think I have his personal phone number, and even if I did, I feel like he wouldn't take my call, sadly. They also asked, now that the two most collabable Disney properties have been collabed with, do you think Gung-Ho JP will continue to try and do collaborate with Disney? I don't see why they wouldn't. Like, if Gung-Ho is a business, and a business's goal is to make money. And if Disney franchises prove profitable, I don't see why Gung-Ho wouldn't keep pursuing that. Again, I'm not an expert on these things. It's just like we don't know what goes on in Gung-Ho's mind. They also asked, do I have any objections to a reskin? I have no objections to a reskin of any collab. Like, if it means we get the cards and stuff, why not? In all honesty, maybe we get some like more NA like heavy franchises. Like Dune is obviously a big topic at this point in time. With the movie release, it may not just be big in North America. I feel like Dune was definitely one of the bigger North American sci-fis, and now it's become like a more of a global, worldwide phenomenon. So I could definitely see Dune collab possibly maybe being a reskin, or just maybe being its own standalone collab. They all finally continue asking, what do I think the meta will shift towards as more and more cards are able to double cap, and there becomes less and less room for improvements on team building? Do you think they'll have more than 9 Awakening slots? I feel like 9 Awakening slots, or increasing the Awakening slots, is a way to improve how strong a card is, or just condensing Awakenings. I'm going to just say Gung-Ho Belial because it's a card people are quite familiar with. She has 2 regular bind resists, which could be a super bind resist. So in theory, she has 1 more entire Awakening she can gain. Same idea of Halloween Chakul. She only has 8 instead of 9 Awakenings. Plenty of room for improvement, but I feel like condensing Awakenings into stronger forms, or even creating super versions, like we could have like a super skill boost, which gives 3 instead of 2 skill boosts. Something along those lines might be a way to do so, because right now, or at least lately, they have been definitely like tuning up the stats of a given card. Like, there was a point in time when like 1,000 weighted stats is a big deal, and I think nowadays we're hitting like 1,500, 1,600, 1,800 weighted stats. Like, it's just much higher than it used to be. So there's definitely going to be power creep, but I feel like the Awakenings is an easy place to improve, as you mentioned. MH asked, can I update the mechanics checklist? I definitely should update the mechanics checklist for Ashura 3MD. Yeah, I definitely should get along to that at some point in time. Ramen asks, if I put together 3 slices of bread, is it a bread sandwich, or maybe it's just a sad loaf of bread that's just missing most of its pieces? Random Donald says, hi Mantastic, I'm still subscribed to the Pad Pass for the girlfriend, but she does not play the game much. Though she does like to roll, and she rolled Seawolf in 1 roll. Congratulations to her. In my opinion, is it worth keeping her subscription or cancel and buy Magic Stone packs when she wants to roll? Well, the thing is with the monthly Pad Pass, it is the most financially efficient method to acquire Magic Stones. I broke it down. It's almost like twice as efficient compared to... it's almost twice as efficient compared to buying the 85 Magic Stone pack in terms of dollar to Magic Stone ratio. So if you are planning to ever IAP on her account at some point in time, it's just better to stay subscribed to the Pad Pass, because you get like a hefty amount of Magic Stones. You also get tons of incredibly easy and accessible prizes. Like the first of the month dungeon now gives 5 Godfest exclusives if you're subscribed to the tier 5, which in turn is basically, like, in my head, 150 Magic Stones worth, because in a Super Godfest, you have a 1 in 3 chance to get a Godfest exclusive, adds 10 Magic Stone price tag, 5 Godfest exclusives. In theory, it should take approximately 150 stones to acquire. Point of the matter is, it's just the best value you can have. So if you ever plan to IAP, it's the best course of action to do so. Disclaimer, I don't get supported by Gung-Ho in any way, shape, or form, so if I say it's good, it's because I genuinely think it's good, not because Gung-Ho told me it was good. Libevakshak, I butchered your name terribly, says, why can't the Star Wars and Marvel collabs come to North America? It's just licensing issues. Like, Yeah, it's a money thing. Again, I can't answer that fully because Gung-Ho knows things that we don't. Ichiban Engineering says, when do I add monster box space? And how do I prioritize selling cards? Well, I add box space by watching the daily ad. I could watch it twice in a single day to increase the box space by 2, or just I add 50 at any given time. And one thing to keep in mind is that the Magic Stone economy has definitely changed or shifted over time. There was a point in time when Magic Stones cost more real life money, and we were given far fewer Magic Stones for login bonuses and whatnot. Now, fast forward to today, we just got 100 Magic Stones for logging in this week. Like, this would be unheard of, like, during the early days of PAD. And at the same time, the cost to buy Magic Stones with real-life money has also decreased at some point in time in the past. So, in theory, adding that 10 box space is actually, well, 50 box space for 10 Magic Stones is actually a cheaper method than it was in the past. And at the same time, box space is always going to have value. So in all honesty, I don't think it's a bad idea to take 10, 20, or even 30 of those Magic Stones we just got this beginning of this week and just dump them all into box space, just so you have more flexibility, because there are more cards to collect, and like maybe I like hoarding as well. In terms of prioritizing selling cards, I tend to sell cards that are non-rare machine as a priority, of course. You should, before selling, check the monster exchange for the gems. You could possibly exchange gems for, you exchange the card for gems, and the gems, they stack up, which in turn doesn't take up box space. So it's another way to clean your box out while not like losing those drops that you had. And then finally, if you just have no gems to make, you can start selling like descend drops, because like in theory those can be farmed back. I am still loath and hesitant to actually get rid of rare machine cards, even though I have 19 Karens. It's completely unnecessary, but I still keep them all. It's just a thing that I do, but I feel like after the 5th copy of a Pantheon card, I don't think they're going to have that much value, because there's no way you can use 5 copies on a given team, and there's just not enough different forms to truly justify it, I feel, overall. Also, have a great month as well. Ricky F. says, hey, Mantastic, they want to ask 2 questions. Would it be better if we remove the VDP Leighton with similar skills but an Awoken skill form? Well, we kind of have the VDP as an Awoken skill, or at least add a new VDP Awoken skill but with similar requirements. You mean for like rainbow teams, like they can pierce through the void if they match those? I feel like that could have been something they worked into like the 5 attribute damage awakening, because that's the same idea of matching 5 elements. Maybe you could have increased it so it's like you add hearts as well, so then you have to do the full spectrum of possible matches. Maybe that would have been a cool idea overall, because it could definitely open up team building options for Rainbow overall. Because like another thing to keep in mind is the VDP Leighton will be upgraded in the future, or have the chance to be stronger, that it will give 1.5 times damage cap breaking for the owning card. I still feel like running something like Akine is just a better option, because the whole team benefits as instead of just the single card benefiting. And then at the same time, you can just double cap things like, say, Swimsuit Mariel instead of giving that VDP Leighton, because you probably need everyone piercing through anyways. So it's just like an awkward place for Rainbow at this point in time. They just need to make more valuable like void damage, void actives like Akine, or just having less void spawns back to back in order to utilize them well. They have also mentioned that with the JP buff these Leightons, they think it is not enough. Exactly, like I agree, it's not quite enough. You get 1.5 times the damage cap, but only that card pierces through. Everyone else doesn't, and depending on the dungeon you are playing through, it may not actually have any relevance, unfortunately. And then secondly, they says they know I like to read so much. Do I have any intentions on making a segment that's solely focused on reviewing books, or maybe just talk about the literature in general? Maybe, perhaps, because like I feel like I do have like thoughts and opinions on the books I've read, and I have read quite a large number of books. Like I do average at least a book a month, so I've been doing this for I don't know how long at this point in time, so I have a reasonable depth of sci-fi, so maybe perhaps I can try and experiment, but I'm not sure how like popular that would be with the average viewer, but maybe I could try something out. Thomas Walker says, with the release of the Dune movie, what do I think of it? I thought it was quite great, as I mentioned earlier on. Like, it was one of the best adaptations from book to large screen. I think it was done so well. They took their time to world build, and like, yes, it could have been a little slow at times, but at least it was visually appealing, so it didn't feel as slow. And in all honesty, that's a big part of the book, is building up this scene. Like, you can create this desert world that everyone can like empathize with, because everyone understands the concept of being thirsty and water being scarce or valuable, so we can understand that, and in turn we can believe this fantasy world, because it's not as fantasy as maybe other like sci-fi novels, or like science fiction is other sci-fi novels, because it's a little bit more believable. We can all understand an extreme heat desert. And Thomas says, they haven't read the books, but the movie was pretty good. Want to hear my thoughts? Yeah, like, I would honestly, I still think reading the first book is meaningful because it was well written, it was exciting, it was definitely worth your time and energy, but I would not read beyond book 1. I felt books 2 to 6 were just underwhelming, like, they lost their vision, so to speak. There was too much internal monologuing and not enough actual plot advancement and development. So I still would say, Thomas, you should take a look at the book, but again, it's okay if you don't. Like, the movie did quite a good job of capturing the essence overall. Majela Lover says, I come from a dark time when Pantheon cards ruled the meta. 2015. What are some of the best Pantheon cards right now, and why is Freya one of them? Well, Freya is one of them because she covers the dark attribute for wood teams, and at this point in time, there are still not many accessible dark wood cards available. Like Halloween Chakiel, Nergigante, Romea are just a couple off and Halloween Bastet are just a couple off the top of my head, and none of those are bottom rarity cards. They're difficult to actually acquire. And that's obviously a little bit problematic because you don't have many options. So for things like Shura 3 or all attribute required dungeons, Freya just happens to be like the best option that players have because she is Pantheon. There's a good chance you have many of them lying around. Other strong notable Pantheon cards are Ami no Uzume with her brand new evolution that actually makes her a powerful cleric for mono fire teams. The Chinese Celestials, their weapon assists are still meaningful. Like, I still find myself slapping on Haku's earring whenever I need, like, bind immunity, skill boost, and some orb enhancements. And same applies for the other Celestials based on the colors I need. I still think they are valuable to have overall. But those are the ones I feel like I use the most often at this point in time, because Pantheon cards are definitely getting pushed down, but, like, they still have some value. Their weapon assists do get utilized every once in a while. Duke Nuke says, what music have I listened to lately? Well, bit of background story. Growing up, like I think around like 14 or 15 years old of age, I started listening to classic rock. I got my parents' turntable. I had some of their vinyl record collection. And then over time, I expanded said vinyl record collection. I probably doubled or probably tripled the volume of good quality albums in it. And for like the longest time, basically before I met Pancake, I just listened to that. Even after meeting Pancake, I was listening to it. And that was probably like 12, 13 years of listening to like classic rock. And like classic rock is great. Like the lyrics have meaning, that tells a story sometimes if it's more progressive oriented, and it's wonderful. And like I know so many albums by heart. I can sing them badly. You probably don't want to hear me sing, but I could sing along at least in my head. But over time, Pancake has introduced me to technology. The drawback of a turntable is, well, every 22 odd minutes or so you have to get up, flip the album over, or take off the album, put it back in its sleeve, and get a new one out. It's obviously less convenient by comparison, and then Pancake has introduced me to the magic of Spotify and the convenience it brings. And then while using Spotify, like I didn't want to listen to the classic rock because like, well, I have it on turntable, and it's like I feel like it's almost insulting their honor, so to speak. It's like I could listen to you on their purest form or the digital forms. I didn't want to listen to it in the digital form, so I started listening to other music. And usually I don't listen to much other stuff. I was pretty much just classic rock and nothing else. But then I started to listen to like lyricless music, most notably C418. I'm just going to write that out in case you can't hear that. C418. Just type it out there. Where did it go? There it is. You can see I wrote there C418. So I started listening to them, and like they just create like this nice like lyricless music. It's almost backgroundy, it's catchy, it's soothing, and then in turn just branching out to like other video game music, like say Lena Raine, Laura Shigari, Ben Pruntney, like people who did like similar styles of music, like less lyrics, more like just like instrumentally or backgroundy, and I just found those soothing, and I tend to listen to those quite a bit. And then lately I haven't used my turntable that much. I listen to it maybe a couple times a week as opposed to multiple times a day, so Pancake has definitely changed me. Alrighty, Alien Dude has quite a few questions, comments, and before I go through all of it, I just want to state that like I feel that education is the greatest way to advance your position in life, because with education you are able to have a greater chance of achieving whatever you want to achieve in life, because careers are based, well, like the amount of money you make from a job is based on supply and demand if you really break it down, because the more educated the person is, the less likely there are people who can actually perform or fulfill that role in society. So in turn, because of that, you tend to be compensated higher. And that in turn makes it so being more educated in turn makes you more employable, which in turn helps you advance your position in life. So I just want to state that first things first. So Alien Dude says that what should you do if your mom doesn't believe in you being able to achieve your dream career? They feel like she has no faith in them and that they can achieve their career by getting an education. Getting an education, whether certificates, AS, BS, master's degree, work experience, good resume, is the key to getting a better job. I completely agree. I'm going to use my friend Calvin, who is somewhere in the room at this point in time. And Calvin just recently got... Yeah, see, there's a hand! Calvin just recently got his MBA, or Master's in Business Administration. So, an incredibly difficult degree to acquire. It's not a common thing to have. And after he got his MBA, his career opportunities greatly opened up. He got a much higher paying job. He has more like status within a big company, so to speak. And I believe at the same time, his actual job itself is more enjoyable because he is just like, he just enjoys what he does more, perhaps. So is that correct? Yes, he is giving the thumbs up. Yes. So like all those things come true. So like MBA is obviously only one degree of all the possible degrees. So like it has definitely improved his life. So I don't quite see why your mom doesn't feel education is the way to open up doors. Like my mom also has an MBA. My mom is also smart, and it was like the best thing she did for herself because her own career took off as well. My sister has a master's in computer science. I have a highly educated family, actually, when I think about it. Her career opportunities have exploded as well. Like education is the way to success for the most part. But continuing on, Alien Dude says they feel their mom's disbelief in their career is draining their enthusiasm. She keeps saying, what's the point? It is useless. You can't achieve a good paying job even if you achieve all those. No, I think she is wrong actually at this point. That is not right. And then Alien Dude says they actually like learning the chosen field that they decided on and has been a goal since they were in high school. They're learning the chosen field because they actually like learning and hope that it would eventually become their career. I think that's great. Like, don't let your mom talk you down. Like, that's not what should be happening. But their mom keeps thinking that just because they can fail in the future, it makes it not worthwhile. Well, everyone fails at some point in time. Like, it's just a part of life. You grow through failure. Like, in all honesty, making a mistake is probably the fastest way to learn something. Like, just kind of sidelining again. Like for myself, when I stream and I make mistakes in a very public manner, well, I learned pretty well that I don't want to do that again. So you definitely need to fall down in order to learn faster, I feel, overall. But their mom keeps thinking that just because I said that right, doesn't understand that we have to fail to succeed at times. For every mistake that you do, you try to learn from it. Alien Dude does their best, and they believe that they can achieve their career. Should they just not open up to their mom so she can kill their enthusiasm? I would say yes, in all honesty. Like, the difficult part with family is that family is hard to get rid of. Like, if it's an acquaintance, you would drop toxic people out of your life without with a second thought. Like, people who are toxic in my life, I don't talk to them. I don't interact with them. And it's better for me overall. And it's just obviously much more difficult with your family. So with that in mind, you may just not have to open up around her, like as sad or bad as that sounds, because it sounds quite toxic. And then Alien Dude asks, what would I do if I were in their situation? Well, you'd have to be more restricted or like selective of what you talk to your mom about, I feel, overall. Because there is always that string of failure before they succeed. We fail a lot more than we succeed. A success is full of fail or setbacks. Their mom thinks getting those 3 will still not give you a better edge of getting a job. They try explaining to her, but she just doesn't believe a person can attain a good job even with those 4 items listed earlier. Certificates or various degrees. Good resume, work experience. No, that's how you get a job. Like, okay, I guess the only thing you didn't include in that list is knowing the right people. Because obviously knowing the right people helps you get hired overall. So, like, that's the only thing that you're possibly missing. So networking is an important aspect that you could possibly work upon. But there are community colleges that help you find a job too. Exactly. Alien Dude continues saying they do not think that she is right about that. They're planning to get these credentials in the same field. Like, if they're going into cybersecurity, they would plan to get their AS degree in cybersecurity, BS degree in cybersecurity, master's in cybersecurity, so on and so forth. Work experience and internship in information technology. CompTIA certificates, which is industry standard for IT entry jobs. So it sounds like you have done your research in this area overall. So, like, I feel like you should be pursuing this. Alien Dude has also noticed that the advanced job is higher pay and requires more education because supply and demand. Fewer people have that higher amount degree of education. Like, my sister works in cybersecurity and she has a master's in computer science. Not many people do have a master's in that field, so she's obviously a much more desirable candidate. And in turn, because she is more desirable, she gets more offers, more competitive. They have to pay her more to actually keep her. Same idea applies here. They notice that, they told her all this, but she just thinks that you can't get a job even if they do complete all that. No, that is wrong. You most certainly can. If what she said is true, what else can I do to improve their chances of getting into information technology? No, it sounds like you're doing all the right things aside from just networking. Like, networking is probably the only thing that you haven't listed here that I feel like you could do to improve. Alien Dude says they do not think what she said is true. She thinks that you have a 0% chance of attaining a cybersecurity job even if you get all those qualifications. No, it is not a 0% chance. It is much, much higher. 0% chance if you don't do those things, sure. But if you do those things, it's going to be much higher. Those are the same qualifications that you see in cybersecurity job requirements. Exactly. Like, job requirements are what you need to have. That's the base level. And then what you do above that is what makes you more employable. They have shown her that, but she still thinks they have a 0% chance of getting the job. Is there any way they can convince their mom that they can achieve their dream career? Just get those qualifications, credentials, then get the career to prove her wrong? I would just get those credentials, get yourself educated if it's something you truly enjoy and love, and you're most likely going to have opportunities starting to fall into place over time. It makes them want to prove her wrong. Well, that can be motivation in itself. Prove your mom wrong. They know they want to become really good at something, have to stick to it for a long time. It is a study every day of deliberate practice and learning every day that makes us highly skilled. It's not the classes themselves. The class is just a tool for us to learn how to do it, but to really achieve mastery of it, we have to keep practicing every day. I agree with that completely. Alien Dude continues saying maybe she is doubting their ability to get that. Alien Dude says they're planning to pump out effort required to just get the career life that they want. They've been studying every day for at least 4 hours, and she still thinks they want to achieve a cybersecurity job after that. No, I think she's wrong overall. I'm going to say that multiple times. They're thinking of just letting her think false conclusions and not arguing with her is the best way to go. Yes, you probably is the best way to go. Like, just don't talk to her about this because this is toxic mentality overall. And it won't kill their enthusiasm. Exactly. Like, you don't need that overall. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you're doing all the right things overall. And she doesn't have to get heated. You feel like it's her core beliefs about their potential is corrupted. It probably is. Maybe there's some underlying resentment between the two of you that, like, we just don't know or I don't know about. It's true that it's going to be very difficult, but they can already do things that certain people struggle to do. They can swim, play chess at an intermediate level, play board games for 8+ hours in one session, and stay for 4 to 5 hours a day. Like, that shows great mental fortitude overall. They're not saying that they're better than everyone else, which is good, that you're humble. There are things that people can easily do, but they struggle to do also, like driving long distances. They can't drive long distances and won't plan to drive long distances. Yeah, like, it's important to know your own shortcomings and whatnot. We have our strengths and weaknesses, and that is a gift to other people. It's our characteristics that makes us special to others. They're honestly not trying to be cocky or too prideful. We are lovable and likable just the way we are already, of course. We should improve ourselves to a higher level. I agree. You should strive to be better than you were yesterday. When they play Chinese chess with their dad, he gets tired of playing Chinese chess after only one game. There are many fields that are not knowledgeable in, or at least they think that. There are people that can do way better than I can. There will always be people that are better than me, and at a younger age, shoot. That's true. Like, it's... The only person you should ever compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. Because, like, everyone is, for the most part, going to be good at something. So, in turn, there will be people who are better at you than basically every aspect in life. And that's just normal. But at the same time, you're probably better than them at other things. But those are just not things that they vocalize or broadcast or advertise about. So, it's good that you've realized that you can't be the best at everything and you have your own personal shortcomings, but you're possibly working on them at the same time. So, in summary, Alien Dude, you should keep studying. You should not talk to your mom about these things because her negativity will definitely drag you down. And right now, you sound like a motivated individual, and I don't want that to change. Next is some YouTuber. And some YouTuber thinks, do you think getting a career first, then searching for a wife is a good idea? They thought one person can work on the career at the same time while being in a relationship. Their dad thinks it's useless to get a girlfriend because he thinks no girls would ever want to marry me. Well, that sounds quite distressing overall. And some YouTuber continues saying they do not need to do things to attract women. They just need to be themselves and find the right vibe. I agree. Like, you should just be yourself. Like, because it's easier to be yourself than live a lie overall. But they've been able to find girls that like them a lot in the past, and no doubt that them and themselves would be dating each other. When they do find that woman that want to marry them, their mom just thinks that she is in it for the ulterior motive. It sounds like your parents don't believe in you, which is unfortunate, kind of like Alien Dude as well. They think that their mom thinks they're unlovable and very ugly, that women won't want to marry them at all unless they get a career. Well, that is quite distressing overall to hear. And getting a career in a high-paying job is definitely a good idea before having kids. I completely agree. Kids are a massive financial strain. Like, you need to have the finances in place in order to have a successfully raise kids. I feel it'll just be much less stressful overall and less resentment. For sure, kids will be a lot of money. They do not plan to have kids unless they attain a career. It is true that some women have preferences of not wanting to be in a relationship with a man with minimum wage job or unemployed man, but it's just means that they're not meeting the right woman. The right woman for me wouldn't mind if they don't have a career yet, since they're working on their career. Yeah, like, I think before you find a relationship, it is important to work on yourself first, because if you're not comfortable with yourself, you don't love yourself, it's going to be much harder for someone else to love you or be comfortable around yourself. And confidence is incredibly attractive. If you believe in yourself, or at least believe in where you're heading at this point in time, that is an attractive characteristic. But at the same time, a relationship takes time, energy, and just mental fortitude. Like, if you don't have the time or energy for a relationship, it may not be the best thing if you're constantly working on your career, like you're doing you're finishing your degree or whatever education it may be, or just working so much. It may be difficult to juggle everything, and you want to probably try and do everything to the best of your capabilities. So perhaps when things settle down, when you feel more established, more secure in yourself, it may be easier to find a relationship at that point in time. Lawrence Production says, if Pancake asked to borrow a couple $100s, would I do it? And would it be a good idea to lend people that much amount of money? Well, for Pancake and I, that's a different situation. We are engaged. We are going to be married in the near future. So it's kind of like what's mine is hers and what's hers is mine. We share everything at this point in time. So it's not really a big a deal, at least from our situation. But if it's someone you don't know that well, it may be a little more difficult, especially if your own finances are not super secure at this point in time. Lawrence Production says they do trust the girl they're seeing, that she will give it back, but people have been saying that if you lend money out to people, don't expect it back. Do you think what they say is any truth in it? Some got cut off, unfortunately. But it all depends. I don't know this person, this situation. What is your relationship with them? Are they a friend, a close friend, a partner, that sort of thing? And yes, to a certain extent, your friends could be right. You may have to, if you're lending money out to people who are less secure in your life, so to speak, it's not someone you've known for years, or immediate family or dedicated partner, there is a chance the money will sadly disappear. So I just feel like it comes down to what this girl is to you. What kind of relationship do you have with her? Bloody Bunny says, what do I think about the adventures of Dai coming to North America? And what do I think about the glorious quintuple 7 combo that the main characters have? They have Dai on JP, and he can damage cap really easily. Well, hard-hitting cards are great. We have many hard-hitting cards, but the one drawback of multiple 7 combos is that it's less efficient. 4 7 combos is 16 times personal damage. 2 10 combos is 25. So for half the awakenings, you have more damage. 5 7 combos is 16, which is 32 times personal damage, so obviously superior, but you took so many awakenings to get to that point. And if you don't have a VDP, you're not going to pierce through voids, which is definitely problematic. So, hitting hard is great, but you have to also keep in mind the other awakenings they bring to the table, because, as mentioned earlier in other comments, a good way to increase the power of a given card is just improve the awakenings. And in all honesty, the double 10 combo is the most efficient and powerful way to have offensive awakenings. And then finally, Klexup says bread. And that concludes all our questions for this given month. I do truly appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, asking your variety of questions, and hopefully this continues on for the next indefinite future, and I look forward to your questions in December. With that being said, hopefully you'll have a truly fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.